Hello, all, and welcome to another episode of Code Without Barriers, one of our AI cohorts. And we are really glad to have you all join in the third episode. I would like to welcome Ms. Nuria Puri, who is a program manager responsible for the Future Ready Talent Program and the student upskilling initiatives in India. Over to you, Nuria.
Perfect, thank you. Just give me 1 second. Let me know if my screen is visible.
Yes, your screen is visible.
Okay, perfect. So just as an introduction, thank you everyone for joining today's session on Code Without Barriers virtual session with Reskill. My name is Nuria Puri, and just to add to what Nirupama was saying, I was earlier part of the student skilling initiatives, and I've now transitioned to a new role, which is the Code Without Barriers program manager, and I look after all of the Asia regions that we follow within Code Without Barriers. While I've started this role only a few months ago, I feel every single day I learn of new ways that we are actually helping to bridge the gender gap that we see in STEM right now. So it's a very exciting program to be a part of. So I'll just go and walk you through essentially a little bit about the Code Without Barriers program. And then after that, I'll hand it back to Reskill for the next part of today's session. So firstly, I'd like to essentially start with our Code Without Barriers mission, which is essentially threefold in terms of innovation, closing the gender gap, as well as building an inclusive economic growth platform. The main part I'd like to emphasize on this particular slide is the concept of inclusivity. The main reason why we are driving towards finding an inclusive society where each one of us feels that we are an equal member of society and we can equally grow and learn from one another, which is why we'd like to focus Code Without Barriers on closing the gender gap through innovative platforms and innovative solutions to ensure that we're building that inclusive economic growth platform for all of society as well. In 2024, the World Economic Forum released their Global Gender Gap Report, which they show annually. In the latest edition of this particular report, we noticed that out of the entire STEM community, only 28.2% of the community are actually women developers, which means that there is a very large amount of work for all of us, not just in the tech sector, not just in the business sector, but all of us as society members to help assist women developers so that we can reach the 50-50% gender parity that is required for overall economic growth as well as long-term sustainability as well. What we've also noticed through some of these reports that have come through on the gender gap is that we are noticing the number of women that are actually advancing in their career because they feel confident enough is of a much lower amount. So the number of women leaders we are seeing, especially in C-suite roles, is not at the optimal level that we are expecting, which is why, and I'll go to the next slide, which is why in 2021, we started the Code Without Barriers program, which is essentially aimed at promoting diversity and inclusion, especially in the tech sector. Through this particular program, we provide women the opportunities to upskill, to have mentorship support, to have community meetups such as this one, and to then be a part of our annual hackathon event in which they're able to put all of their theoretical upskilling into real life, real world scenarios in answering and finding solutions for problem statements that our partners put out. In 2021, when we launched this program, this was in ASEAN only. Since then, we have now expanded the program to Australia, New Zealand, India, Japan, the Greater China region, as well as the Korea markets as well. And we're looking to expand even further. So just to take you through essentially what would be the user journey within Code Without Barriers. So within Code Without Barriers, we use our existing Microsoft ecosystem of our customer and partners as well as the open source communities to help bridge the gap in ensuring that the talent that we are producing in this program is upskilled and matches the industry needs that we see in our industry domain as well. So, as I mentioned, we provide skilling opportunities in which women are upskilled on Microsoft technologies and receive Microsoft certifications at the end of their skilling journeys. They have opportunities to be matched with an industry expert through our mentorship circle programs. And then they're also a part of our community meetups like this one, where you get a chance to learn from not just industry experts, but also to be able to network with one another. And finally, we also have an annual hackathon event. During our annual hackathon event, women developers go through a series of problem statements and find solutions using AI as well as data in trying to find the most innovative solution to that particular problem statement. As part of the hackathon journey, some of the prizes that we do offer are some very exclusive jobs and internship opportunities that are exclusive for our Code Without Barriers members as well. So, as I mentioned, in 2024, we officially launched Code Without Barriers in India through a very special announcement made by our Microsoft CEO, Satya Nadella, when he was visiting India earlier this year. Through his particular speech, we made a promise of upskilling at least 75,000 women developers in India alone, and we are already very close to reaching that target number. Along with not just the skilling opportunities, in India, we also have mentorship circle opportunities, community meetup opportunities, as well as chances to attend any of our Code Without Barrier panel discussions or exclusive events as well. So Code Without Barriers India program is very integral to the overarching Code Without Barriers message as well that we have. Right now on my screen, these are just a couple of our community events that we've had, not just in India, but in ASEAN, in Australia, New Zealand, and some of the community partners that we work with that are able to conduct the outreach to ensure that each of the developers who are interested in being a part of this diversity and inclusion initiative have equal opportunities to be a part of it as well. Some of our success stories have included people who have been a part of our community journey since our Code Without Barriers launch. So right now on my screen, I've just sort of picked a couple of our previous mentors that we've had in the Code Without Barriers program. We've had Dr. Abhilasha, Shivani, and Dr. Shivani as well. Each of them have been beneficiaries of our upskilling opportunities, our mentorship opportunities, and they've also been able to peer network and provide opportunities to other women developers to encourage them to also join the Code Without Barriers program. We've also had students who have joined this program, and that has also helped them in their overall learning journey as well as students and as they try to find their first jobs after college as well. We encourage all of you on this call and all of you who participate in our meetup programs to share your Code Without Barriers journeys with all of us on social media as well, so that we can also amplify your stories and you're a part of our overall community as well. Speaking of our social media, right now on my screen, you can essentially see two QR codes that are available for you to join. The first QR code on the top is for you to join our Code Without Barriers website. So please do scan the top QR code. It will give you access to our Code Without Barriers website and for you to complete the registration form to officially be a part of our CWB community. The second QR code that you can see at the bottom, this is to join our LinkedIn group. Once you click on that, you will then have access to our LinkedIn group and all of the social media posts that we post there as well. It's imperative for you to please join both of these communities, as all of the opportunities that we have, whether it's upskilling, mentorship, community meetups, and even jobs and internship opportunities that we have exclusively for our Code Without Barrier members, all of them are available on these platforms once and only after you register. So by registering, you're guaranteeing yourself place within our community and access to all of these resources as well. With that, I'd like to thank Reskill for inviting me to present the Code Without Barriers program for all of you who are there on today's call. And I'd like to thank you and hope to see you more at our next community meetup events. And with that, I'd like to hand it back to the Reskill team. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Nuria. I think we, like last time, we will receive a lot of noise for all the women empowerment. Next, let's please welcome Miss Manisha Talreja, who's a technology consultant at Microsoft, for the episode of AI Cohort, where we'll be talking about data preparation and processing. Hi, Manisha. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll just add your presentation to the screen and let's get going. I hope it's good on your end.
Sure, sure. Hi, Nirupama. Thank you so much for the introduction and thank you for having me. So, let's start. Hi, everyone. I'm Manisha and I'm thrilled to connect with all of you today. I am a data engineer at Microsoft with over 6 years of experience in IT. I'm passionate about empowering others through education, practical knowledge, helping individuals gain skills, insights to grow and succeed in their career. So, today's topic is data preparation and processing essential steps for data driven insights. So, what are we going to learn in this session? The agenda is we are not going to use the data how it arrives. And nowadays, the data is not just in the tabular formats in the databases. It's in the earlier the data we used to manually insert the data in the databases. So we had relational databases, data warehouses, but now data is everywhere. You are surrounded by data ingesting models. You are surrounded by, if you talk over a phone, if you use social media, or if you go somewhere, there are videos, there are cameras, there are sensors. Everyone is noticing you and gathering the data. So can we go to the next slide, please? Yeah. So here today we will talk about what is data preparation, how is data collected, how and after the data is collected, how it is cleaned and pre-processed, and finally how do we transform the data and then use the data into the feature engineering and for analysis, and then we integrate and aggregate the data. As I mean, we have data from multiple sources. How do we aggregate? How do we integrate, join the data from all those resources, and then finally we process the data into the machine learning models, or we can just put that transformed data into a Power BI report, into Fabric report, and then the business users can see those analysis in front of them. So the first is introduction to data preparation. So let's start with the basics. Next slide, please. Let's start with the basics. Imagine you are building a house. Would you start the construction without ensuring a solid foundation? Obviously, no. Similarly, in data projects, preparation is the foundation. Data preparation involves gathering, cleaning, transforming, and organizing raw data into a format that is ready for analysis. Think about how messy a data set can be. It can have missing values, it can have inconsistent data formats, duplicate entries. So, without proper preparation, any analysis or any machine learning model will be totally unstable. So, we are not going to spend a lot of money or a lot of time on machine learning models if we do not have the data ready in a proper format. So that is why there are these roles. You start with the data analysis, then you go into the data engineering, and then you go into the data scientist. The data scientist can finally use that data engineered. We call it as engineered because we actually transform the data into a proper format. We are not going to use the directly. We are not going to, if I want to train my model with some data, I'm not going to use the Instagram post or Twitter post or news or JSON files. I need to properly transform the data in a way that my model can be that my model can use, or any business analyst or any business manager can see it in a proper format in the Power BI report. Yeah, next slide. So as I already mentioned, what is data preparation? What is the importance of data accuracy? See, if you will not have the accurate data, a business manager who is giving you all its raw data, and if the data is not in a proper format, if the raw data, even the raw data is not accurate, and I have done everything. I have even analyzed the data. I have transformed the data. My machine learning model is working properly fine, my code is giving a good accuracy result, but the thing is, if my raw data itself won't be accurate, then the results are not going to be rendered properly, and the business people will take incorrect decisions, and it can cause I mean, it can cause a loss to the business, because if my data is not in the correct format, don't talk about the format, if my data is not the way that I want it to be, definitely I'm going to make improper decisions, right? So for example, I have got the timetable from my college with the schedule, kaun se din pe which exam do I have, but the thing is, I am not updating my data regularly. If there is if there are any sudden changes, or if my exams are postponed, or if my exams are preponed, but I have no idea about that, because I am just talking about the data which I received. I am just concerned about the schedule which I received 2 weeks earlier, and I am now not worried about what are the changes or what are the updates in my data. So, according to that, I will prepare for the exams according to what I was thinking is correct. But that was not. My exams have been preponed. So I am definitely going to miss those exams, and it will create a, I mean, it will definitely have a great impact on my life, right? So this is why it is very important to have the data accuracy, because it has direct impact on your results, on the final results. So the start and the end both are totally interconnected to each other. Next one. Yeah. So we need to make sure that we are ensuring data quality, enhancing analysis efficiency, improving decision making process. So if my data is totally, if my data is of high quality, it is accurate and it is reliable. Plus, I have got the data with consent. Plus, it is also stored in a secure manner. If my end results would be totally reliable, and it is going to improve my decision making process if I'm updated with all the results, if I'm updated with all the data or all the changes in my source data or the raw data. Obviously I am going to keep a track कि कब कौन सा change हो रहा है. If I'm going to implement SCD type 1, SCD type 2 in my data warehouses, I am keeping a track of historical data as well as the current data. So my final results, my machine learning model will also generate that kind of a data, which will help me to improve my decision making process. Yeah, next, please. So there are some challenges in the data preparation. As I already told you, that there would be some inconsistent data formats, there would be some missing values, or there would be some insufficient data quality. For example, people, if they fill a form, or while ingesting the data, some data gets lost, or if I want the date and if I want a particular column in a date and time format, but it is still in uh, string format, it is not going to process the data according to the date and time, because the date and time functions in my Python module or in my Spark module, they only work on the date if the data is in date format. Otherwise, if it is in string format, I will get null values in my result. So how these are some of the challenges, that is why we collect the data and then we clean the data. We do not directly process or transform it, first we clean the data if there are missing values. So instead of I what I can do is I can just discard those rows which has missing values, or I can just fill those rows with the average or mean or median of all the data which I have. So these are some of the challenges that we face while preparing the data. The We will go on to the next stage, that is data collection and acquisition. So you can picture a detective uh, gathering clues from various sources to solve a case. So even in data world, we gather information from databases, APIs, web scraping, sensors, surveys, or even manual entries. So for example, if you are working on a customer segmentation project, you might pull the data from CRM software, website analytics, social media platforms, etc., etc. So next slide, please. So these are some of the types of the sources from where you can collect the data. For example, surveys. First of all, you need to see on which kind of a problem statement or of which kind of a project you are working. So, for example, if you are working on a health related project or on a medicine. If you are working on a medicines background or clinics background, so what you will do is you will obviously create a survey of what type of disease do you have, or do you have any historical disease, or genetics information, medicines information. So you are going to put the you are not going to put the questions such as which type of a car do you have, or how much do you earn. These data are relevant to your current project. So even if you are collecting the data, you are preparing a survey, or you are posting an online form, you will make sure that your questions are relevant to that problem statement. So surveys, web scraping, websites, they even websites, if you are using some cookies, so they will enable the collection of large data sets from online sources, because the web scraping websites are obviously hosted online. APIs application. So sometimes APIs push the data to the event hub. So if I am talking about the real time data, so the sensors, as soon as the sensors will catch the data, it will send the data. Those APIs are built to send the data to the event hub for further processing. So for example, our smartwatches, they continuously sense it. I mean, they continuously sense the monitor our blood, how is our blood flowing, at what rate it is flowing. So in that way, our watch detects if we are working out or if we are sleeping, if our heart rate is normal, or if it if it has increased by some level. So it is continuously processing the data, and by what it is processing continuously in real time, because it has sensors, it has APIs which are collecting the data and transforming the data at the very same point. Next slide. Automated data collection. So there are some data collection methods that use technology to, I mean, without even human intervention. So there are many things which are automated nowadays. So we are just need to run the automated code, and automatically the data will get fetched from those sources. Or if I want to do a typical manual data entry process, I can do that. Real time data streaming, as I already covered. And also, you need to watch out for a few things. What type of data you are collecting? Is it structured like spreadsheets, unstructured like tweets, or semi structured like JSON files? Also, while collecting the data, you need to make sure that are you following ethical guidelines and data protection laws. For instance, if you're collecting a data from a consumer, you need to make sure that you have his consent. Otherwise, you are just not going to stalk that person and collect the data. You also need to make sure, if you are recording a video of some person, if you are clicking pictures of some person, you need to inform them, you need to take the consent. So you need to be ethical enough while collecting the data. Also, you need to make sure that you have the date and time of each and every data collection process. For example, if you are recording metadata, you need to make sure that when and how the data was collected. So this context will help you avoid confusion later on. So this key is to ensure that data aligns with your project objectives. Next slide, please. So these are some of the privacy measures which you need to take care of. Data privacy and security, how it is important, because Microsoft work, the first and foremost culture of Microsoft is data privacy. So people, people, they if you are going to, even if by mistake, if the data is leaked from one system to another system, it is going to create huge losses, because our main thing is to protect the customer's data at any cost. If you are using it for your model, first of all you have collected it with consent, with the ethical ways, not with the illegal ways. if and after you have collected the data, you need to make sure you maintain the security of the data. You have put proper compliance, you have put proper security measures, you have put proper firewall. While you are storing a customer's data, it should not be leaked, it should not be what do you say, it should not be ingested by some other source which does not have a proper access, or if the third person does not have the authorization and authentication for that data. So it is very important to handle the data privacy and security. Next one, please. So once you have the data, once you have stored the data in a very secured manner, you have collected the data, stored the data in the secure manner, the next stage comes is data cleaning and pre-processing. So once you have collected the data, it is time to roll up your sleeves, clean it up. Imagine you are preparing vegetables for a meal. You would not cook with spoiled or unwashed vegetables, right? So data cleaning is also similar. So you are not going to train your model with null values, with inconsistent data formats. Obviously not. You are going, even if you are cooking something, you will make sure, and we I mean, humans have OCD, right? When we cook something, we tend to wash our hands every single time. Even if we put some salt, we will wash our hands, we'll wash our fingers. Even if we cut something and again we have to cut another vegetable, we will again wash our hands and then cut another vegetable. So we have to make sure we look after each and every column which we have in our data set. Yeah, next slide, please. So these are some of the impacts. So missing data can create biases and inaccuracies in data analysis, leading to incorrect conclusions. So if your data is missing, and the end results would also be not generated properly, so it will lead to incorrect conclusions. Imputation techniques replacing missing values, such as I already told you, if you have missing values, what you can do is either discard those rows, or you can substitute. If you have if you have 70% of the data available and 30% is missing, what you can do is you can just discard the 30%. Or if you have confidence on the 70% of the data, what you can do is you can find out the mean, median, or average of those data 70% and replace it in the null values. So even that provides a consistency. Detection methods. First of all, you need to detect. You need to write your program in such a way that you should be able to see what are the missing values, and if they really matter to you or not. For example, age is missing, definitely. It is a very important factor for us. Age, mobile number, or a Gmail account. Some of the things that do not matter is the middle name. If the middle name is missing of a person, it's totally fine, it does not matter, so I can make sure that I can discard those values. But if the income is missing but all the other things are given, so I am not going to proceed with the data set, because the income is also the most important thing of a person. Because a person will decide something in his future based on his income. So I have to make sure that I have those methods to find out what is the null values. Can I just replace it with the other values, or do I just need to discard them? So using modeling is to predict those missing values, allow for sophisticated analysis while considering available data patterns. So that is why I told you that if you can use the 70% of the data, if you have confidence over the 70% of the data, I mean, If in a class 70% of the people they score between 70 to 80%, and I do not have the data for the 30% of my students, but I know that majority of my class is between 70 to 80%. So in that way, if I take the average, I can say that those 30% of students will also score between 73 to 75% if I take out the average, mean, or median. So in this way you can use predictive modeling. I mean, this is an example, but you actually need to give your data to a model so that it can predict if you can trust your 70% or not. Obviously you're not going to manually read the data and process it in your mind, definitely not. You are going to give your data to the predictive model, which will give you those results. Next slide please. Detecting and removing outliers. So outliers is like, for example, in your area, every shop says that they sell an average of 10,000 rupees per month. They sell items of 10,000 rupees per month. So there are 10 similar shops who have the similar products. But the 11th shop is saying that I sell the items of worth rupees 2 lakhs. So that is obviously exaggerating. When those all 11 shops have similar products, if they are selling on an average 10,000 rupees per month, so I mean, the 12,000, 15,000 in the competitive business is fine. But if you have the similar items and if someone is selling the items for 2 lakhs, then definitely that is an outlier. So you need to make sure that you identify those outlier. And if I'm not removing those outlier, if I'm not removing that 11th shop who is obviously exaggerating that he is selling items of 2 lakhs rupees per month, what I am going to get, the end result will be definitely biased for that person only, because he is selling the most number of items, he is making more money. So my model is going to behave that way, my model will be totally biased. So that is why it is very important to detect the outlier, to identify what is the outlier, and then removing the outlier totally. Second one please. Next slide, I mean. Yeah. And also, I'll also tell you that you also need to analyze the dates in multiple formats, like date, month, year, or there would be a semicolon, or there would be a backslash in dates and in date formats. So you need to make sure you also uh, create a proper date format. It should not be like some rows has only date and month, some rows has only year and month. You have to make sure that you have all the three variables, date, month, year, and they should also be in a proper format. So the next thing is data transformation and feature engineering. This is a part where we transform raw data into something meaningful. So till now we were only dealing with raw data, cleaning the raw data, removing the outliers from the raw data, handling with null values in the raw data. So washing the raw data, I mean cleaning, washing the vegetables. We did not start the cooking yet. We were just washing the vegetables when we just thought to make a dish. So here is the part where we transform the raw data into something meaningful. So think of it like turning raw ingredients into a dish, into a proper dish. So for example, next slide please. So the first is encoding categorical variables. So if you are analyzing customer preferences, categorize it low, medium, high, or these things can be converted into numerical values. So if you just have the categorical values, your model will only be trained into the numerical data, average, mean, median, scores, annual income. All the numerical data is going to train that model. So if you do not have that data, for example, uh, if there is a shopkeeper who just maintains a list कि ये वाला कस्टमर ज्यादा लेता है, ये कम लेता है, और ये एवरेज लेता है, बट ही हैज नॉट नोटेड डाउन द क्वांटिटी कि ज्यादा वाले में क्वांटिटी कम से कम 100 आइटम्स है, कम वाले में क्वांटिटी कम से कम 20-30 है और मीडियम वाले में 70-80 तक है, तो डेफिनेटली देर इज गोइंग टू बी अ प्रॉब्लम. ही हैज जस्ट मेंशन कि low quantity, medium quantity, high quantity. So this is where we are going to encode our categorical variables. We will give it some numerical value. We can just, for low, we will take the average of 50 items. For medium, we will take the average of 70 items. For high, we will take the average of 100 items. So once we have the numerical values, we can only then train the models. So that is why we are here transforming something which we have in the data. Creating new features is like, suppose you are working with the e-commerce data set. You might combine unit price of a unit price of an item with the quantity sold to create a new feature, total revenue. So if a shopkeeper is not maintaining the list of how much is he earning in an entire year or for a particular product, you can just derive a new feature by combining the unit price and combining the quantity sold. Aggregating data is like, you if there are large data sets, for example, there is a customer data set, there is a product data set, which customer bought which product, but those two data sets have hundreds and hundreds of columns, each data set. For example, product dimension, product details, product color, product category, but you are not concerned about those things. You are just concerned about which customer bought which product and at what price. That's it. So you are just concerned about the product amount, product name, and the customer details and the price that customer paid for it. That's it. So you will aggregate, you will combine those data sets into a smaller data set. So instead of having 200 columns, by combining those two data sets, which are of no use at all, what you will just do is you will just combine the important columns. You will aggregate those columns. So reshaping that becomes reshaping the data sets, changing their structure to make patterns more visible and facilitate analysis. So even if you have that small data set, you will be able to guess the pattern by just looking at it. So for example, there is one product which is occurring again and again and again, so you would definitely be uh, ready to analyze, oh okay, so this product is in trend nowadays, right? So this is what reshaping the data set is. Next one, please. Also, so this is what I explained: feature selection and extraction. So feature selection, as in I told you, there would be many columns in a data set. It is you as a data engineer or a data scientist who is going to decide which feature will train my model. So for example, if I'm going to buy a plot, if I'm going to buy a land, I will see that what is the price and what are the things that are affecting those price. Because हर स्टेट में प्लॉट सेम रेट पे तो नहीं मिलता. देयर वुड बी लाइक मुंबई में इट इज इम्पॉसिबल टू गेट अ हाउस, बट इट इज easier to get a house in Noida. Why? Because there are some of the features impacting it. So you need to make sure that you have to collect those important features. You have to identify those features so that because they are totally impacting the end result, they are totally impacting your end product, which is, for example, here the plot of land or a flat or an apartment. So because these features are going to enhance your model performance. Next slide, please. Yeah, so creating new features for predictive modeling. So once you have identified the features, for example, in which area do you live, do you have all the facilities available in that area? Uh, so as soon as you step out, so in Mumbai, why are the prices very high? Because you get the sea facing view, plus there is overly hyped Mumbai, South Mumbai. Uh, Also, as soon as you get down, you will get everything. And here in Noida, things are still settling up, right? It is not a developed city as compared to Mumbai. That is why there are some features which are impacting a lot. So once you know the importance of those features, you are definitely going to train those features into a model. So polynomial features such as they need These models help you to understand nonlinear relationships by adding polynomial terms. So there would be some of the hidden features which you would not be able to recognize. I mean, if something, if some if some place is on the higher value, there would be something which will be going on the lower. So there would be a adverse effect on both the things. So you need to also make sure that you identify those hidden patterns. There would be also some time-based patterns or time-based features, interactive interaction terms, which help you to capture the combined effect of two or more features, not only a single. Obviously, it is a very obvious thing that or not there would not be a single thing which is going to impact a price of a flat or a plot. There would be multiple features, right? There would be multiple things which would be impacting. So you need to make sure that you are going to uh, identify those features. And time based features such as you would have listened to people, you would have heard people saying ki गर्मियों में और बारिशों में you should not prefer going to Mumbai, because everyone knows the state is in a horrible condition during rains. But whereas there are no rains in Noida, so the weather is also very pleasant in Noida during rainy season. So there are also time based features. You have to make sure you identify those features, you put it in your model. Next slide, please. Yeah. So we will go on to the data integration and aggregation. So data often comes from multiple sources, as we know, and it is like assembling pieces of puzzles for a puzzle. For example, if you are analyzing a sales performance, you might integrate data from the sales team CRM, marketing department, campaign data, and inventory records. So, what are the key steps? We'll see it in the next slide. Data integration. So data integration means combining these sources using joins or merge operations. For example, joining customer purchase data with market email responses can provide insights into campaign effectiveness. So, for example, if you send out many emails that we are launching our new product, for example, the whole truth, if you would have heard the brand, the whole truth, okay. So, but they reach out to each and every social media influencer to promote their product. They also have other marketing techniques, like they will hype their social media, their Instagram profile, or they will they will display some very attractive offers on their website. There is wholesale 30% off, there is 25% off. But the main thing is you need to integrate data, how many customers bought their product from the website, or how many customers went to their website by seeing some social media influencer. So if you will combine these things, you will realize that ज़्यादा purchasing किस वजह से हो रही है. So you need to integrate, you need to connect these things. So you are going to connect this customer purchase data with all the marketing techniques, so you can get more insights. कहाँ से proper sale हो रही है, कहाँ से ज़्यादा sale हो रही है. The second is aggregation. Summarize data to a higher level. For example, instead of analyzing every transaction, compute monthly revenue trends. Obviously, you're not going to daily check कि daily कितना sale हो रहा है, because it is a very tedious process. Instead, you can just what do you say? You can just collect the data for every month. What is the monthly revenue trend, or what is the quarterly revenue trend? Because if your business is a very high value business, if your revenue is a good, if you are earning very good amount of money, then obviously you are not going to check daily kitna hota hai, because daily there would be a lot of fluctuations. But month you will actually see the patterns when you will give a definite time period: 3 months, 6 months, 6 months, 1 month. Checking consistency, data accuracy, ensuring feels like The customer IDs are, they are in the primary key format. They are not repetitive. They are unique. They are not null. So they have been formatted consistently across datasets. So integration provides a holistic view of the data. It is very crucial for the comprehensive analysis. Next slide, please. So these are some of the data integration aggregation techniques. Summarization techniques include um, how are you going to join the tables, or you are going to group the data according to the merchant category or the product category. So you will realize, or according to the marketing technique. So even if you group the data, or if you join two or three tables, merge two or three tables, you will be able to see the trends. You will be able to see the pattern, or of what exactly is happening in your data. So these aggregation techniques, they help you to analyze and to make informed decisions based on the consolidated information that you have. Because you definitely have single row, single customer, you will be able to see, but you are not concerned about कि एक एक customer क्या क्या ले रहा है, but you are mainly concerned about the group of customers, what exactly is your data doing, what exactly your customers are doing. That is why it is important for us to have those data aggregation techniques. Next slide, please. Resolving data inconsistencies. So uh, when we merge two data sets, we have to make sure that even if we have customers data, even if we have products data sets, I also need some proper common column between those two data sets. Otherwise, it is not, I cannot process those two data sets, or I cannot merge those two data sets. So I have to deal with these inconsistencies. I mean, if I have only products, but I do not have the data which customer is buying that product, there is no use of keeping that product data set. Because if I want to join both the tables, I have to make sure customer table maybe we have customer ID, products table maybe we have product ID. So these are the source of inconsistencies. We need to make sure that we are and also you have to make sure that if you are performing an inner join, outer join, left join, right join, based on what kind of data do you want. So once you have identified your inconsistencies, you have to make sure you work on them to ensure a proper data quality, so that your data sets should be reliable for decision making. Next slide, please. Now we come to the data processing and analysis. Once you have dealt with all the inconsistencies, you have transformed the data, you have merged the data. Now we finally arrive at data processing and analysis. This is where all the preparation pays off, like serving the meal after hours in the kitchen. Finally, when you sit and you get the time to enjoy that meal, when you eat that meal. Next slide, please. So we saw this data. Uh, we already saw this data transformation. How did we transform the data? How did we aggregate the data? How we filtered the data? How, if we do not want unwanted data, we will just remove them, or we will just replace them with the average values, median values, etc., etc. Now it is time to analyze that data, to show that data, to consume that data. Next slide. So how are we going to show the data? For example, we have exploratory data analysis, EDA. It uses visualizations to uncover patterns. If you are, for example, if you are working with the sales data, you will use a bar chart, you will use a pie chart, or any chart that will reveal seasonal trends कि सेल्स के कहाँ पर कितनी ज़्यादा होती है, कब कम होती है. Or there would be some automation tools like Pandas, Apache Spark, that can handle large values of large data sets efficiently. And you can also automate repetitive tasks like filtering the data, aggregating the data, feature selection. um, as we already covered, you need to identify the most impactful variables. For example, in a customer churn model, number of support tickets might be more productive than last login date. You are just concerned about how many people are raising the issues rather than at what time did the customer logged the ticket. You are not, so you are not concerned about the time, you are concerned about the how many complaints are we receiving. Statistical modeling techniques like regression clustering helps you uncover the relationships between the models and make predictions. So, for example, according to the sales data which you have, so it will help you take decision to predict next quarter sales. So, अगर ये 3 months में मैंने इतना earn किया है, those if I am using regression model, it will help me to predict कि next quarter में मेरा लगभग लगभग कितना sales होगा. If I am consistent with my sales, if I am consistent with my products, if I am not launching any new product, और अगर मैं किसी प्रोडक्ट को बिल्कुल डिस्कार्ड नहीं कर रही, based on those variables only I can predict. So this is where insight transform into the actionable decisions. So these were some of the analytical tools, and as you already covered, Apache Spark that uses Python. You can use Python, SQL, R to identify your data patterns, to do some data analysis, and it will give you the proper efficiency and accuracy of the data. Next one. So interpreting and visualizing results. You can use some Power BI capability reports. You can use Fabric. So nowadays Power BI is in a lot of trend. You should know how to use Power BI. You should know how to use Fabric, because a person would be any person, a layman person, obviously a business manager or an HR manager. They are not from IT background. You are from IT background, so you need to make sure that you make use of IT background and present your data in such a way that it should be appealing to the end users. Any simple person who is not even related to any company, who is not related to IT domain or any domain, if they look at your report, they should be able to see कि चल क्या रहा है data में. They should be able to see the pattern in your data. They should be able to understand what exactly in your report. So this is why it is very important to visualize your data rather than just showing the data in the tabular format. So you need to have those effective reporting skills, clear reporting it, so that you can communicate your findings in a very what do you say, in a proper GUI way. You should have a graphical interface for that data which you have, for which you have worked so hard. You have collected, you have cleaned, you have transformed, and you have done whatnot. Next please. Yeah. So to wrap up, I would say data preparation and processing are like laying the groundwork for a skyscraper. Solid preparation leads to reliable outcomes. By collecting, cleaning, transforming, integrating, and analyzing data effectively, we unlock its full potential. So, thank you for joining this session. But before we end this session, I would like to share my screen, and I would like to show you a demo of how exactly in a project, if you work on any project, how effectively you can collect the data, you can transform the data. So give me a minute. Let me know if you can see my screen.
Manisha, it's not loaded yet. Okay, we just got it. Just a second.
Okay. Are you able to see it properly now?
Yes, works.
Okay. So here in our we totally use the cloud technology. So if you work for Microsoft, definitely the cloud, the Azure. If you would have attended any of my previous sessions on Azure cloud or Azure and AI, you would have got the knowledge of what is this cloud. So even if we are processing the data, storing the data, or analyzing the data, we use cloud because cloud provides all the features and you do not need to worry about installing anything on your device. You just need to have this account. So it also provides you a free trial, so you can start working on your POC. So first of all, where if I have collected the data, so that data collection is totally on the client side because they are working for the project, or for example, this is a banking project. We need to make sure that for which person what is the confidence score, and if we are going to approve or reject the loan for that person. So here we have the storage accounts. Once you will logged into the, you will be in the you will be in the Azure portal. Then you will see your storage accounts. For we have the proper naming convention of a storage account or the analysis or the data breaks. So we have the storage account. We have the folder called landing. So here, as of now, we do not, the specific people have the required permissions. So here in the landing storage accounts, we keep all the CSV files, we keep all the data where for which we will ingest the data into our Databricks. So once we have all these data in our data ADLS Gen 2 account, that is Azure Data Lake Storage account, then we will go into the Databricks. So the Azure Databricks service, as you can see here, the Azure Databricks service is used to maintain the data sets. For example, I will maintain the raw storage, raw data sets, and then I will clean the data sets and I'll store those data into the middle layer, that is the silver layer, and then finally some person will look after the third layer, that is a proper aggregated data. So here I will show you, these are the codes. So for example, one of my teammates is working on the ingesting the data from my landing zone to my uh, this thing, Azure Databricks Unity catalog. So I have to make sure I will ingest the raw data as it is. So this is the code snippet for we have totally uh, automated this code. So as soon as the data arrives, it will immediately ingest the data and put it in our tables. So I'll show you the tables as well. My cluster is running. So once the cluster is ready, I'll show you. The second thing is, once the tables are ready, and in this um, what is it, in this notebook only we have cleaned the data. For example, we have removed the null values, we have removed the duplicate values, all those things we have done it here only. So if you can see a distinct dot collect, so automatically the repetitive values or the values which are not unique, they are definitely discarded from my data set. So this new data set will only contain the unique values. So I have done all those things into this notebook. And then my role comes into the picture, and I have maintained all the gold tables. So I'll show you how many data sets that we have. Yeah, my cluster is ready. So if you can see the tables starting with raw credit card payment history, raw credit card transaction history, customer profile, limit increase, loan details, salary details, customer profile we have. So we have the same sample data. We can see it. We can see the data from these tables. So there are 7 to 8 data sets which has raw data. It will include null values, it will include duplicate values, all those things it will include. So, for example, here you can see the 100 records. The actual data can be more than that. You have null values, you have, and also we have introduced this column sequence number when exactly the data was ingested. So as in in while giving the presentation I already explained you, it is important to get the data and also maintain the time record of that data, so it will avoid confusion when the data was there when you ingested the data. So once you have raw details, once you have ingested the source data, you will now work on the silver layer, the medallion architecture. We call it as medallion architecture, where we clean the data. So after its cleaning, we have made sure that all the valid records go into the enriched tables. Here you will see enriched customer profile, enriched limit increase. All the raw tables will now get converted into in the next step they will be converted into the enriched tables. So here you can see all these enriched data, and if there are any duplicate values or null values, they will go into the error table. Okay, so here we did not have any null values, we maintained the accuracy of data, so the error table is totally empty. So once we have all these data in the silver layer, I have maintained all the gold tables. So we do not directly jump on the gold tables. Here you will see it's the step two is gold table. Step one is filter out the records. So I do not want any card which has blocked the cards, corporate cards. They should be excluded. Plus the cards which are expiring within 90 days, they should be excluded. They should not have any promotional code. Plus the utilization of that credit card should also be less than 95%. So we filter out the cards. We then build the goal table. So the goal table is not only just aggregating or just joining those silver tables. No, it also needs a lot of detailed computation. So for example, these are all the calculated columns. What is the latest monthly loan, and what is the month of that loan? Or what is the 6 months average? What is the 6 months median? When I told you that we are not going to review each and every record, we are going to review what exactly is the time duration, quarter, 6 months, 1 year, that is going to train your model. So once I have built all these columns, this is like 50 columns in my gold table, DPD max, uh, loan, credit card max, 12 months active transactions in the previous 12 months active, what was the amount involved in those transactions, what was the count of those transactions, everything. I mean, these are all the numerical values. If you will see, no column is going to tell you the categorical thing. Everything is encoded, or everything is transformed into the average, median, mode, latest, what is the current month, and everything. So here I'll also show you how does my gold table look like. So here I have created, first of all, I have created individual gold tables, and then I have combined into one customer data gold table. So here you will see all those monthly loan, latest monthly loan, what is the average of those 6 months loan, what is the annual salary of that person, what is the credit limit, current credit limit, what is the latest credit limit of the current month, of the last 6 months average, median, what is the latest usage of that person's credit card amount, pay, what is the payment percentage, if he has been paying regularly in the past 6 months, and if yes, what is the average rate, or what is the average amount that he is paying, what is the median amount, what is the loan maximum in the last 12 months. So all these things are already there. So according to the category, what is the count? So for example, here in the column name you will see spend monthly medium electronics, spend monthly median restaurants. So for which category the person is spending, so these categories also matter a lot. So it's not just that you uh, ingest the data from various sources, but you also need to use your brain. What exactly are the, this is called as feature extraction. feature engineering. You have to make sure, because these columns are there, no one is going to tell you to create these columns. You have to think about these columns according to your problem statement. So this was all for today's session. I hope you liked it, and yes, do let me know if you have any questions.
Let's see, we have any questions? Uh, All right. I don't think we have any questions now, but if we receive any through the comments, we will definitely
Sure,
pass them on to you.
sure,
Thank you
sure,
so
sure.
much, Manisha, for doing this session. It was definitely quite insightful even for me. So yeah, that without uh, just saying anything, thank you so much again, and we'll see you in another chapter also.
Sure. Thank you, Nirupama. Have a great day. Bye.
You too. Bye bye. Thank you to everyone who joined us, and